Welcome back to Unlockable Content. I'm Wolfman,
I'm Ty.
and we're doing a Wolfman at the movies. It's unlockable content at the movies.
Yeah.
We just got back from seeing It Chapter 2, but before I get into that, I want to talk about Angry Birds 2, because I'm overdue for that review. So, really quickly, I'll try to fly right through it. Bird puns.
Bird puns.
Bird puns.
Bird puns. Pissed off sky poopers.
I think the first story was better. It definitely felt like a more flowing movie compared to this one. This one started off, I felt like we were watching dream sequences. I didn't know when the movie actually began. That was the problem. Like, it was just, I don't want to say it was too silly, but it's like, the movie just didn't seem focused.
I didn't see either of them, but I feel like any movie based off of an app game, probably gonna be a little bit on the sillier side.
The first movie was definitely silly, and it wasn't a powerhouse film by any means, but the story at least flowed. It at least
there was a story. It wasn't just there's these birds that are angry and they're gonna knock down these pigs that are in houses.
But like this one starts off like number one, it starts off with like Red being the grand hero of the island, which they didn't happen by the end of the first movie. So already we're like, what is this world that we're entering? Because it doesn't really follow suit. So it looked very nice. Like visually, it was great. The CG has definitely upgraded, and the performances were fun. I love Josh Gad; he was hilarious as always. There was a lot of good things in it. It just I feel like narratively speaking, the first movie was better. So I'll give Angry Birds 2 a 7 out of 10. Now we'll move on to the movie at hand, the important one here, It Chapter 2. And you didn't see Chapter 1 prior to this.
I saw Chapter 1 earlier today before you took us to the movies.
Yeah, Ty had not seen Chapter 1, so I made it a point that we saw Chapter 1 before we went to see Chapter 2. So that was already fresh in my mind going into this movie, which really did help. I think it made a big difference.
Oh, yeah, there were so many more jokes to laugh at because you're like, oh, I remember when they made that reference last movie.
There were when you watch them back to each other, there are so many things like threads that just feel completed. So many points that just they feel very satisfyingly concluded, whether it's a joke or a plot point or whatever it may be. It really does wrap everything up very nicely.
Yeah, every single joke that could be made about the first movie made a reappearance in the second movie, which was just like, oh, now I can be that guy who gets to laugh in the movie theater way harder than he definitely should.
Yeah. And there were also references slipped in. I mean, good book references that if you're a fan, you understand. I mean, certain things I think they could have tried to expand on more, but overall, I mean, everything felt satisfying with it. It's now trying to look at it very seriously though. It's the movie. The movie is very over the top at times.
Yeah, you definitely have to try to look at it seriously.
And I'd like to believe that it knows it's being over the top, because that just means it's more fun, and definitely feels like the actors would have had more fun with it. I think Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise was really enjoying himself, but I think the actors playing the kids grown up, some of them were being a little too serious at times.
Yeah. The Molly Ringwald was she definitely could have. She could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, and Mike definitely could. I feel like they're like, we're almost towards the end of this movie series here. So it's like that last couple weeks of school. All the students were just like, all right, guys, summer break's coming up. You guys are going to have to go out and deal with murderous clowns. So enjoy your break. And then no one pays attention for the last, 2 weeks.
I mean, I almost feel like you can make the argument that they gave James McAvoy so much attention just because he's James McAvoy.
Well, he is James McAvoy.
But I'm saying, as opposed to, even character distribution, we've got to give our top billing the most attention, regardless of what it means for the story.
True.
So,
although Although I like how Stanley was given more lines.
But child Stanley or adult Stanley?
Both. Because the second movie, that was his time to shine. Who knew he was that flexible? I didn't. That was surprising.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
You know
now.
what I'm talking about.
Like, we're trying to not be spoilery about this, but then again, if you've seen the original miniseries, then it almost feels, or if you've read the book, then it's like, what's the point? But this movie does stand on its own very nicely compared to the original Tim Curry miniseries. So there really is very little comparison you can draw. So this does stand on its own very nicely. So no spoiler going in on that. And
there is a clown. Spoiler. Spoiler. There is a clown. It's a little creepy. Yeah. Actually, there's multiple clowns that show up in the second one.
Yeah,
lots of clowns, just everywhere.
But it does a good job of being an entertaining movie. I'm trying to pick my words right, because, like I said, if you try not to take it too seriously, it's incredibly fun.
It's the best. I want to say it's the best way to wrap up a short movie series where people are already making fun of the entire first movie. It's a good way of going, okay, fine. You guys want to make fun of our first movie? You know what? We'll make fun of our first movie too, and we'll do it for 3 hours, and you'll pay to see that.
There's a good point you made out of that. Yeah, this movie is almost 3 hours long, and something that'll give this movie over Endgame, and I think this is a big thing to say. When I was sitting through Endgame, I was really into the movie, but there were definitely a moment or two where I stopped to look at my clock to see how much longer it was going. It definitely felt. There were moments where I felt the length of Endgame. In this movie, I was through it the whole way.
Yeah, there were so many jokes you were looking out to, you were from the beginning to the end. It was just almost nonstop jokes being made about the first movie and about the seriousness of the whole thing. Oh yeah, this is a whole serious thing. But you guys did a montage cleaning a bloody bathroom in the first movie. How do you think you're going to take yourself seriously after this?
And then, again, with this one, don't go into it. Some of the... It's all jump scare for the most part when it comes to it, but they're all really fun, so I can't hate on it too much. And every moment is just so over the top. Like I said, you've seen the trailer, you know about Beverly going to her old house and the old woman, and the trailer doesn't spoil what happens, and we're not going to spoil out what happens either, but dear Lord, that theater was uproarious with laughter, because I had a certain expectation for what was going to happen, and the movie just was like, nope!
It said, oh, so you fell for our trick. You thought we were going to scare you with this thing, but instead,
we're going to make you laugh with this other terrifying-looking monstrosity. Because, it was horrendous to look. It was terrifying to look at, but it was so funny to watch.
It was like if Golem had a much bigger, older brother. Yeah, that's a good way to describe that thing. Yeah. It was they took the CGI of Golem and just went, let's make it bigger.
This thing was Grendel's cousin.
Yeah, Grundle. Grundle.
I feel like we're slowly getting into spoiler territory for anybody that would get those jokes. So let's move on.
If you get those jokes, you're fine upstanding people.
Points to you, yeah. But yeah, the movie flows very nicely. You're engrossed the whole way through. At no point did I feel like I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours already. Let's wrap it up. It was going, and it flowed nicely, and everybody just felt like they were enjoying themselves in the movie. They might have been taking it a little too seriously, but everybody felt in it, I think.
Yeah. People were definitely in. There was fights starting in the middle of the theater because people were getting startled. And go, no, I'm fine. I wasn't scared at all. I didn't jump at all. Everyone just be quiet.
Maybe you could make an argument about James McAvoy at times, but then again, when there is that much focus on a single person, you might be able to pick up on a couple of different facial tics and things like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everybody was. They felt like the good adult version of the child character. I think.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
they definitely carry through the personalities
yeah.
through into their older
That's
selves.
I think that's more what I meant. Not necessarily that they were all in it, but they felt like the logical progression.
Yeah.
Whether or not they acted well, you can judge for yourself. But whether or not they felt like the adult version of that character from
Oh yeah.
child to adult, they definitely I feel like they
Yeah,
definitely hit that.
the lineup of the actors they got to play the various adult versions definitely like perfect choice in who to represent those different aspects
Yeah.
of their adult version. And overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie overall. I'm a big fan of Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I
And
mean,
that semi serious, but you can tell that this is meant to you're supposed to get laughs throughout
I'm
it.
not
It's
I'm
definitely
not
that
scared
feel.
of clowns, so I find the movie
Yeah,
very entertaining.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, and believe it or not, I have arachnophobia. But even then, when it comes to the big spider, and I'm not spoiling anything for anybody that's ever seen the miniseries or anything else, there's spiders involved with this.
If anyone's seen spiders, you know spiders kind of creep you out.
But
Spiders.
this was still all kinds of fun. Nothing about this movie is too scary, even jump scare wise. It's not even that harsh, but they're still very fun in the moments, and you get a little bit of a rush, and I think that's all you need for it. It's you're going to smile or going to jump. You're
Yeah, you
going to
got that
have a
little
good
bit of
time.
adrenaline rolling where
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know whether I'm going to be jumping and hugging you because I'm scared, or whether I'm going to laugh real hard and grab
Yeah.
you because I'm laughing so hard I need to wipe my tears on
So-
your sleeve.
So, what out of 10 would you give this?
Because I did just watch the chapter 1 beforehand, and because I kind of understood where they were going with it, where it was kind of being like semi-serious, but still, we're going to be just going for a little bit more fun in this one. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. At least. Probably 8.5. I'm generous.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good place to be. It's not. There are certain things that rob it of that full 10. Definitely rob it of the full 10. Certain things that rob it of the 9 slot. Like maybe this counts as a little bit of a spoiler thing, but the actor that they had to play Eddie, I don't know. He seemed too legit mad at times. Like he didn't just seem like annoyed with some of the jokes or comments that were happening around him. He seemed legit angry,
He was
and it was like off-putting.
He was really into his character, and it's like, dude, if you're the adult version of your child, you should be used to your friend's bullshit by now.
Yeah,
your friend's a dick.
The kid was neurotic. This guy's just kind of like not fun to be around. So it was like little things like that, but the character got better as the movie went on. I was just saying, like at the start, he was like that, but then he mellowed out as he like remembered himself.
Yeah, it was like as a kid, his neurotic attitude towards everything, it added that little bit of comedy to it where it's like, oh, he's worrying about the things that you definitely shouldn't be worrying about. Oh, you're worried about sepsis? Worry about the clown killing everybody.
So yeah, 8. I try to avoid doing the 0.5 or whatever because I used to do that a lot with some of the other ones, but so yeah, I'll give this one a solid 8. I'll even give it the 0.5. Yeah, 8.5.
Yeah. I had the spicy chicken tacos, and those definitely helped earn that 0.5.
0.5.
That and the fact that the movie was making fun of itself. It was like making fun of. It was making fun. The first one was making fun of itself throughout the whole thing. So the story itself was just really fun to see develop. Even if I didn't see the first one and I saw this one with you, I would probably still give it the same rating, even though I wouldn't get some of the jokes. There was still enough parts in there that it's a fun movie, especially if you've seen the first one. It's a fun way to complete your story.
All right, but now here's the question. If you didn't see chapter 1, do you really feel like, you might have just said, but do you really feel like this stands enough strongly on its own without the first one?
On its own, they do enough of sort of like a semi-recap with their flashbacks and some of the story, but by itself, I feel like it would have a hard time standing on its own. Because I've read the book, so like, and it took that like it took that little aspect. Like I even mentioned while we were in the movie, I was like, oh hey, wait a second, now they bring in this part of the movie. Now that so they put it more chronological, but I feel the second one, if you didn't see the first one, you would still enjoy it just because it gets into the own half of the story and kind of recaps what happened in the past.
The mistake that I think people would make is looking at this as a sequel. This is not. This is literally part 1, part 2, chapter 1, chapter 2. This is the continuation. It's just the story is just that big that it's not that it couldn't be contained unless you want to sit through an almost 4-hour movie in one go.
Yeah, unless you want to be like the movie Gettysburg, where it's like, hey, we made this movie and we put an intermission into it because people are going to die if they don't go to the bathroom.
So don't mistake this as a sequel. This is the continuation. And while it's a very good movie and enjoyable on its own, it's reinforced heavily by seeing part 1. So I don't know that this can stand on its own.
On its own, it'll take a lot. You'll have to just be a big fan of Stephen King to appreciate it on its own. But even if you do see it on its own and then you go back and you watch the chapter 1, I feel like even if you saw the second one and then you saw chapter 1, you would still be able to laugh at those jokes in chapter 1 because you'd be like, oh, now chapter 1's the joke one. Now we'll watch them in order and we'll see. Okay, the whole thing's a joke series.
You can't judge everything on chapter 2.
Yeah.
If you've seen chapter 2 first and then are going back to chapter 1, at least you're doing that. You have to see chapter 1 because everything is just so cohesively together with these two movies. So
it's definitely one where if you wanted to sit down and you wanted to have like a long movie montage sort of day, viewing chapter 1 followed by chapter 2 would definitely be the way to do it because at that point, the story itself has completed itself so well. All those threads that were left unanswered, all those little nagging man, this kind of bugged me about this from the first movie. They were all addressed in the second one, and it just sort of gave you that. It gave you that sense of closure, but it also, it didn't necessarily end on. It didn't end on the happy. It's Stephen King. No Stephen King should ever end on a truly happy ending. It should end on I'm satisfied that there's at least some characters left alive.
Things have concluded, and it feels like a logical place to be. Nothing's forced.
Yeah, there wasn't a forced, now everybody gets mated up with their loved one and hugs and high fives all around.
Yeah, you could definitely make a good weekend out of seeing both of these. So I would strongly recommend when the box set, because I'm sure they're going to make a box set for both of these. Go out and get that box set if you already haven't purchased the first movie. It's going to be worth getting that box set.
Yeah, if you already have it, get your second one. If you don't have it, let your friend get their second copy, their chapter 2 copy, and you can watch them both with them.
Yeah, they both have great rewatchability. So, I think we watched these. I think it's time to move on to the next.
Yeah, we'll just have to figure out what the next scary movie is we're going to have to watch.
Next movie at the theater. So, take care.
You guys have a good one.
Yeah.